Hello, fellow traders. Tis I, TheRumpledOne, coming to you on Wednesday, November the 8th. The year is 2023. Let's talk trading. Trading is Trust, Part 2 with Walmal. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and different from Walmal. Walmal, did you have some trust issues earlier today?
I did. It all worked out because I finally did go and actually trust my system and use my system and not make 3 mistakes in a row and finally get it back on course. And then the market did what the market does and got me out of my own mess, my own doing. But I got into a trade and it was sort of shouldn't have gotten into the trade where I got into it. I did. So I should have trusted my system and immediately gotten out, or gone and waited for another opportunity if I thought if I still thought that there was a good chance it was going to get to where it was going to get to. And what happened was, of course, it gave me the opportunity. I missed the opportunity to go in a second time, which would have gotten me out at break even plus a little bit more. Then what happened was I had another opportunity to go in, and I got in, and I took it, got all the way up, got to break even plus some, and I didn't get out, and should have gotten out with I only would have gotten out with maybe a pip or 2 pips, but it would have gotten me out. But no, I didn't do that, didn't trust the system because I knew better, and it crashed against me, and next thing you know, I'm down. I think at one point I was down 7, 8 pips, something like that, and then finally I got an opportunity to get into a third trade. Got into that trade, and it went up, got me out. It actually got me out with a pretty nice profit. But the thing is that was so ironic about it was the very first trade where this all happened this hour. I was thinking it was going to hit 75, and of course, if I would have just trusted the system and just rode it out, it would have gotten me to the point where I would have gotten out with my original, my original TP was at, and instead on the very first trade, it took like a pip loss on the very first trade, but the other two trades were very, very profitable. But it's sort of like, dude, you've got rules in place for a reason. You've been doing this for a while now. You know what you're supposed to do. You got the rules written down. You even got them on a card. You wrote them down on an index card. And you silly fool. Why did you go break your rules 3 times in a row? I think, Hero, you were on the phone at the time. I even said it. That's the 3rd rule I've broken in a row. I think I said something like that.
Yeah, you did. Well, the thing about trust is, it's whether or not, I guess it's a function of time. It's like, and because if you think about it, if you're in a trade and it's against you, the longer it's against you, it's like, is that starting to diminish your trust? Because I know for me, what happens is I get in a trade and it goes against me. And if it goes against me too long, then all I'm thinking about is just getting out, And a lot of times, if I would, it's almost like, okay, let's say I've been in a trade for an hour and it's been against me, then it comes back. Well, it's almost like I should give it another hour because chances are it's going to go in my direction. But then,
I think you bring up a really interesting point with that. Where is your trust founded? Is your trust founded in the trade, or is the trust founded in your system?
Right.
And that's what it really comes down to. Are you placing your trust in the trade that you got to do, or are you placing your trust in the system that you've spent hours upon hours of developing based on your personality, based on your trading habits, based on whatever instrument you're using, based on the statistic, based on all these other things that we can quantify? So are you putting your trust in that, or are you putting your trust in your emotional, your emotional investment in this one particular trade? And that's where we all screw up, and because at least I don't like to use an absolute. I won't say all, but that's where I screw up. Okay. And it's sort of like, it's type of thing where I made the first mistake. I shouldn't have gotten into that trade. It was kind of an airball trade. Okay, that's a mistake. Is what it is. Live with it. Okay, you know. But now you got to go back to your system. You got to go back to what you've developed. Either A, get out of the trade, or now we're looking at it. Is there really a trade there? Maybe we can ride this. Okay, we decided you're going to ride it. Okay, that's a legitimate thing to do. But then when it gets to the point where you can go and average in, because your system says this is the place to average in, and you don't do it, because you still see, you see something on a chart that's, messing you up emotionally. And so because of that, you don't do it. And then, of course, the payout of that is that, for me anyway, on this particular trade was, well, guess what? I had the opportunity to get out of this trade clean, and I don't take it. So now I got an emotional draw on me. And then it goes and does, all those other things. And it's just like I was paying more attention to my emotion in the trade than I was paying attention to my system. I was trusting my emotion in that trade more than I was trusting the system itself. And that's the problem. It's, we got to go and put, I think we talked about it yesterday a little bit, with trust, what is trust? Well, the thing is, you have to have trust in the right things, because there are things that you shouldn't have trust in. Walking out into the middle of a busy intersection with your eyes closed, and just walking out in the middle, and trusting that you're not going to get hit by a Mack truck. Well, that's not trust. That's foolishness. Well, I did foolishness 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I always talk about that when people, walk in front of me. It's like, look at all the trust you're placing in somebody else. You're placed that they see you, that they react, that their car doesn't have a mechanical failure when they press the brakes. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that there's
yeah.
not an oil slick, and I mean, there's just so many things.
Yeah, I was driving down from the mountains over the weekend, and there was a little bit of frost on the ground and on the road. There was a little bit of black ice. And it was the type of thing where I'm doing the speed limit's like 55, but I'm doing 45 because you're on twisty roads with black ice on it. And I had this fool, I won't go and name the car because I'll offend somebody, but he had this fool in a sports car type of thing, rear wheel drive, come around and pass me, on the road conditions like that, on a road that you can't see more than maybe 500 feet up the road because there's so many twists and turns in the road. And we had just gone through a section of black ice. You have to be a stinking fool to go and do that. But people do that all the time. As opposed to, for instance, you're on an interstate highway and you're doing, twice that speed, but the thing is, you're putting trust that the person in the lane next to you is not going to cut over. Well, he may or may not, but the reality is that there's a little bit more room for trust because 99% of the time, people do keep it in the lane, and you don't have black ice in front of you, something that's a variable that you can't account for and you can't do anything about, And I think that also goes with our trading, what are we doing here? We're going to trust the system, or we're going to go and trust our emotions. Our emotions get us in trouble every day.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at this 75 psychological line thinking it's either going up to the 2300 double O or it's coming down to 2250, and I want to short so bad, but the screen's saying trade long. I'm looking at the all the multimeters, and they're pretty much all green or aqua, which is indicating long. So I'm just kind of sitting here with my hands folded, just waiting.
And that's a good thing because you're controlling your emotion. You're putting your trust in what is safe, and that's what we have to do. Is we have to go put our trust in things that are safe because the reality is, there's a good chance this thing's going to turn around and come back down and, it'll hit at least the 70, if not lower than that, But the reality is the market is screaming everything else. But why is it that we get that in our brain that, oh, I want to go short here? Why? Because we remember on the chart, it hits a high point, and then when it hits that high point, it runs 20, 30, 40 pips in the other direction. And so we want to go and grab it. We want to go and time the market perfectly and get that perfect high. And more times than not, none of us can do that. And what happens is we wind up getting into, what you like to call an inflection point.
Yeah.
Where all of this, it showed signs of going down, but what happened was all it was doing was the market was taking a minute just to go and collect its breath a little bit, so that it can go and continue its run up.
Yeah, well, remember what I had said before we were on the phone? I said, this thing will probably hit 75, and if it hits that, then it has to go to 80 to wipe out some stops there.
Yep, that's exactly what you said, and you're exactly right, So we can come and predict things that are likely to happen, but we got to wait for the trade to develop on the chart to take it, And so, for instance, at 75, I had said before we got on the call, this is, if you look in the early parts of this 30-minute candle, we had that big candle run up, and then it closed up there. And it's okay, this is the place to short to 75.
Right.
And then take that trade. And then, if you notice, it got all the way back down to 70.
Right.
My chart anyway got that down to 70.1. Could have picked up a nice 4-pick trade there, But then again, when it came right back up, you got a flip-flop box, okay, on that very next candle, got a flip-flop box, you could have gone long at 75.5, and, you may have gone underwater a little bit, but the thing is you could have run that all the way up to 80, and, and more than 80, and picked up 5-6 pips or more, But the thing is, you got to trade what's there, what's in front of you. You can't trade something. You can't trade, what you think it's going to do. You got to trade what the chart's telling you to trade.
Yeah, because the chart was actually telling you it's like it had like a flat top right here, but then if you notice that was making higher lows if you were to drop a trend line there. It's like, doing that old school charting. It's say, yeah, that was screaming long at 75.
Yep, we used to print that out, and then take a ruler, draw a line right on the chart just to go and prove it to ourselves, and then go and place, back in the days when we didn't have the internet, and then we go and call up a broker and say, I want to go long at X price,
Yeah.
At least that's what back in the old days, what I had to go and do. And, the thing is, those things are tried and true. We know they work. We get so stinking, into ourselves, and what I mean by that is we overcomplicate the crap out of stuff.
Yeah, plus we could have just ridden indicator too.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there would have been a couple places where you may have, it may have forced you, it would have been one place may have forced you out, but that's, yeah, but the thing is, what that also gave you was an opportunity to go back in again. You would have picked up some money and then had an opportunity to go in a second time.
Right.
So, but again, it comes down to trust. What are you going to trust? You're going to trust your system, or you're going to trust your emotion.
Yeah.
And emotions are notoriously horrible.
Or just trusting your eyes. It's like, we think as opposed to, that's why I used to always say, trade what you see. And you see it's going up. You see a big green, the M30 candle that we have shaded there. All the indicators are telling you to go long, but it's like, I wanted to wait for a short.
And, there's nothing wrong with wanting to go and wait for a short as long as you do the second part of that clause. Wait for the short.
Yeah.
The problem is that we become over anxious and don't wait for it, and so what happens is when we do that, next thing you know, we jump into a place where we get clobbered.
Yeah, and you know what, fellow traders? The fastest 15 minutes in trading's over once again. So, let us know if you are having any trust issues, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.